Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of the Voron Zero series. I am recording this as a voiceover because of a few changes in plan, but this episode still has a lot of content in it, just not what I'm talking about right now originally. So the plan was to A, work on a spool holder, and B, do the Voron Zero PCB that I announced a few weeks ago. The Voron Zero PCB is still happening. I'm still waiting to receive it. It's in the country, but I haven't received it yet. It will probably take a week or two for me to receive it. So definitely stay tuned for that. But it's not going to be in this episode. It will be in the next episode. So just an FYI from the beginning. In this episode, we will work on a spool holder on top of the top hat, and we will also work on a new rear panel. And we will also do some cable management, etc. type of preparation for the Voron Zero PCB. And in the next episode, most likely we will do the Voron Zero PCB itself and finish the rear panel and the wiring, etc. And we'll see from there. But that's the plan for this episode. So what you just saw was the first version of the top hat printing. So with this model, the spool itself can slide from the sides, so unlike that, the spool holder part is a single piece. And on the top here you just slide PTFE tube as usual. The center one exists only because only to allow you to use larger spools or something like that, or at least spools with larger diameter holes in the middle. You can't really use larger spools because of the top hat, but that's the reason I included it. But yeah, it's not really necessary. The outer two are obviously used. You can see there's also an inbuilt support here, so it should be easy enough to remove. So that's the change I made, and the way this works is if I open the bodies, go get rid of the spool holder itself. Here we have two pieces that attach on top of the top hat, and you can see that there are holes for that, so threaded inserts are supposed to go in the top hat, which means you do need to reprint your top hat. I understand that's not great, but that's the way it had to be. Plus I had to get rid of some of the chamfers on the top hat as well, but I think it still looks good enough. And as I said, you screw it in on the bottom side of that. You can see that there are two holes on each piece, so 4 in total. You place magnets there. The magnets we use on the other Voron printers for the doors. I don't remember what the Voron Zero used, but it's probably was the same. And you place magnets on the corresponding sides of the spool holder as well, and there's also a pole for alignment, so this should just stay in place really well. And it's not very obvious from the design, but you can see that there is a curvature to the top, which means the spool itself shouldn't slide to the sides either. So this is the model I'm printing. I also had to reprint the top hat again. I somehow used an old model of the top hat. I don't know where I found it, but the problem was the holes here were narrower. They were for 3mm screws, so they were designed to just self-tap. I'm not a fan of that. I wanted to use threaded inserts, so I had to dig through some of the files to find the new top hat, which means I had to reprint it, and the old one is going in the trash. I shortened the front parts that stick into the cubes on the corners. That's to allow for a future model that I'm considering. Haven't really decided if I'm actually going to do it or not, but it is a hinge system, not with a gas spring or anything like that, like on the V2, but just something so I can easily open the top hat, work on stuff around the tool head and whatnot, and then close it. That's kind of the idea. But yeah, I'm not 100% if I'm going to go through with that or not, so don't take that as a for sure plan. But yeah, other than that, the top hat is like so. I've also worked on a new rear panel. My old rear panel was it was fine. There wasn't much wrong with it, but I had a few ideas for improving it, and yeah, I wanted to work on that. Plus, I needed more space back here. I'll get to the reason in a bit. So this is the design I came up with. So the M4 extruder, as you know, I use the M4, not the pocket watch, and I have a mod for this. So if you're interested, you can check the description for that. But anyway, as you know, the M4 sits here, and I have a box shaped cutout, so you can see it, and you can also unlock the latch for it when replacing filaments and stuff like that. But yeah, otherwise the bolting tube from here is supposed to run like this behind the cover, and then come out here and go up here and end here. So I can just run the filament to that. But a problem with the old design was the cables I run to the top hat itself. As you know, I have LEDs there, so obviously they need power. Plus I have the Raspberry Pi camera. None of them are modeled here, but you can see them in my real printer. The Raspberry Pi camera has a ribbon cable, and the LEDs need 2 wires for 24 volt and ground. With the rear panel design I've been using for a while, there is no good way of routing that. The best you could do, and what I did, was just jamming them between this and the plastic piece for the drive here. And yeah, that obviously wasn't great, but there's also no good way of routing that if you want the cables to come on this corner of the top hat, which is more important in my opinion because of cable management. Otherwise it's just hanging and it's ugly. But yeah, if they're coming from here, yeah, you don't really have an option. So what I did is just edit these holes so I can route them here and then run it down there and back into the chamber, and I can use zip ties here. I can also design a PCB to go here, just a breakout PCB, so it will have the Raspberry Pi ribbon cable connector on either side and just 2 screw terminals, or even KKs will do probably. So, that actually gives me an idea. I may even be able to incorporate like a BME 260 or something for environment measurement or whatever. Anyway, I'm getting way ahead of myself. Yes, I could also do something like that as well. What you should take from that, nothing else I said. Yeah, it will run like that. I'll probably have connectors there for easy disconnection. And on the back, as you know, again, ignore the stock lead screw drive, by the way. As you know, I'm using a direct drive lead screw. I have the Raspberry Pi and the Raspberry Pi's buck converter, and that's basically taking up the entirety of this area, and the power connectors backside. So that's all occupied. And my old cover ends here, and then begins around here. So yeah, there is nowhere else to hide the electronics. With the new PCB thing I'm doing, obviously one side of the PCB will go on here, but I actually had an idea, and that is, since I'm just using it as a breakout, I might as well connect it on the other side as well, since I already had ordered 10 of them, because that was the minimum quantity was 5, but 10 of them costs the same as 5 of them at PCBWay. JLC PCB I think charges more for 10, but with PCBWay 10 costs the same as 5. So yeah, I have 10 of those, and it would apply even if I only had 5 as well anyway. So I'll connect the other end, I'll solder the PCB on the other end as well, and then I'm going to use it as a breakout on this side as well, then run it to the electronics down there, the Dwight Wi-Fi and the power supply or whatever else it needs to connect to. I don't exactly remember right now. But yeah, for that I need some space. Plus for the LED lighting I am using a relay. I could use a heater output or duet Wi-Fi if I wanted to, but I already set it up for a relay, so that's what I'm using. And this relay is just sitting freely in there. It's not secured to anything. It's just sitting there, so that's also not great. So this additional space will allow me to organize the electronics a bit better. So that's the reason I wanted a new electronics cover. As usual, the new spool holder and the rear panel will be released on GitHub once they're tested, and most likely are already in the description of this video, so if you're interested in them, you can check them out there. And one more thing about the rear panel. You can see that the rear panel sticks below the feet here. Well, this is the original Voron 0 feet. I am using hard case tall feet, so those actually go still so bad at this. Those actually go all the way to the bottom of this so I have space for the bottom electronics cover. I covered all of this in a previous Voron 0 video, but yeah, the takeaway is the feet. You have to use the longer feet for this to work well, and with that it won't interfere with the actual feet of the design, so yeah, that's not going to be an issue. So I think I've talked long enough. Let's, I guess, see a few more time lapses or something and then actually get to working on this. The top hat is now printed, and you can see that I assembled this thing just like the way it was before, with the LEDs and the Raspberry Pi camera. And on top, as I showed in the CAD, we have the mounts for the spool holder, and here is the spool holder itself. I went with white PTFE tube. I might replace that with black ones. I don't know, I thought the contrast would look nice, but yeah, I'm now thinking it doesn't. But anyway, for now that's white. And as I said, it sits on top just like this, and it's held in place by the pole, and actually a little bit of friction that I didn't expect, but it's a nice addition. And the magnets, so this is not going anywhere. As for the spool itself, I had to do this one-handed, so it took me a while, but here it is. As for the spool itself, it sits on top of the spool holder like this. There is actually an angled surface here, so this is not going to slide around, as I said when I'm talking at CAD. And yeah, it's secured. Hopefully there are no tangles, but anyway, yeah, you can see that this is working well. It's sliding very smoothly. There is no drag on the filament, and yeah, this is working, and I don't see a reason why this wouldn't work when it's installed on the printer as well. So I tore my Voron 0 down a decent amount and started preparations for the Voron 0 PCB. And this is around the time when I, well, actually this is the first time I'm recording since I decided to move the Voron 0 PCB to the next episode. Obviously it took me a while to design this, so this is the first time I'm actually recording after that, so that's why you see the voiceover in the beginning of the video. But anyway, I tore this down a decent amount and yeah, started preparations. But I decided to do some improvements around the back chamber of this. The bottom is good enough. I mean, I'm not proud of the cable management here, but it does the job. But here, it's just too complicated to get shit done, so it needs a redesign. Another thing I noticed, which I need to investigate, is this. You can see that there is some belt wear on this belt. I don't really know what caused this. I have some theories. If this is anything like the Voron 2, then a good theory is the belt riding on the flanges here. I'm not counting this one because I might have moved it there when I was just experimenting with this, but yeah, if it is riding on the flanges over time, well, there is the problem. So yeah, that's something I need to investigate. I don't know if there will be anything related to that in this or the next video, but yeah, if it's a quick fix, I'll just fix it. Otherwise, it will most likely come down to observation. I decided to also replace this mid panel. I don't know if you remember, but I cut this from 3mm thick aluminium, and it did the job fine so far, but yeah, it's time to replace this so that I can actually mount the electronics properly. But replacing this means that from the front, the bottom panel and the mid panel won't look the same, so I don't know, I might replace the panel here as well, which means basically completely redoing the electronics of this. At least the mounting of it is what I mean. So yeah, I guess we'll see from there. I don't know if I even have enough filament for that. So this is the filament that I use for that color. You can see that it's pretty much depleted, so I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I definitely want to do some work around there, so I'll come back to you with an update on that. So here's the new mid panel. As you can see, I did some mounts on this. So here we mount a Raspberry Pi, and then here we're going to mount a custom PCB that I'm going to get to. And this is some mystery that you will see in the next episode if it works out. And here, just, you know, the extruder goes there. I added a bunch of extra holes so I can align it as close to perfect as possible. And yeah, you can see that that part is covered by the actual rear panel. So yeah, the extruder is going to be the only thing that's exposed, and everything else will be hidden. Now the only challenge with how this is going to work is the wiring to the top hat. As I mentioned, I have to route them like so, and yeah, I need a way of easy disconnects. I guess I could use connectors, but they're not really, they don't look that well, that great, but yeah, maybe that's the way it's going to be. Also, as I said, to color match this, I had to redo the deck panel as well, so again, I'm going to go with a printed one this time, so here it is. This is basically the same layout as with my aluminium one, so here is the power supply and here is the duet Wi-Fi. It should fit just as well. And the only thing that's different from that is the shape of this cutout, and that's designed for the direct drive Z lead screw mount that I'm using. But yeah, other than that, it's the same layout. Also, you'll notice I did some hexes with these. That's not to save on material or anything. In fact, I think it costs even more material because of the walls that my slicer is doing. Of course, I could edit that setting, but yeah, you know, I just like to print with the default profile that I've set after some tuning. And yeah, with that, actually this is costing a bit more material, but I think I like the way this looks, so that's why I did it. And yeah, the PCB here, it's meant to be a breakout for the umbilical cord, so the umbilical cord will come down here through the opening here, and it will go through here. There is a hole on that panel as well, and go down like so, and it will connect to the PCB here, and it will just be a breakout. The reason I'm doing a different PCB here, however, is because I also want to incorporate a mount for the SSR. The SSR I'm using, it's a PCB mount design. I mean, I've been using it fine without any problems with just screwing terminals with legs, and that worked. But I don't know, I just wanted to do things properly. So yeah, that's going to be the way it is. Also, I need a way of mounting the buck converter. Actually, I don't need to mount the buck converter that mounts on the rail. I also need a way of mounting the relay board. Now, if I remember correctly, the relay board I'm using doesn't have any mounting holes, so this is what I did. Just bridge here so I can run a zip tie under that and zip tie it in place. And yeah, as for the buck converter, it will sit on the 1515 extrusion just like it did some time ago. The electronics layout changed quite a bit over time, but yeah, it's going back to that, I think. And yeah, that's the design for these. Yeah, no, the remaining filament isn't going to work. About halfway through my remaining filament, I swapped to black filament just to see if this would work, but well, you can see that it doesn't look that well at all. So yeah, it definitely doesn't match the usual color, which is here. So I need new filament. The problem is this filament, the gray one I'm using, was Paramount, and yeah, it's an American filament. Importing that's huge trouble, so I'm going to try Esun's silver and see how that does. Hopefully it's close enough of a match, but I don't know. But yeah, if it is close enough, I think that's what I'm going to use. Hopefully the colors will be close enough for it to not matter. So here it is, the breakout board I designed for the electronics side. You can see that the umbilical cord with its 18 wires connects here, and then we just have the breakouts around here. I also have power connectors here. This is AC stuff, which I usually don't put into my PCBs, but yeah, in this case I did, and I think it will be fine. The reason I did this is because, well, I'm mounting the SSR here. As I said before, this is the reason why I wanted separate design on this side. So yeah, that's why it's there. So yeah, it's just a pass-through to the power supply, and then for the heat pad it goes through the SSR. The line side, the neutral side, connects directly. So yeah, that's the design there, and this is the hot end input for the umbilical cord. The rest of the breakouts are here. I think it's a pretty okay-ish design, but yeah, we will see. One thing I forgot to do, and I already ordered this so I can't fix this, is I forgot to do a flat fill ground plane. I like to do that for good practice, but yeah, I forgot, and I already ordered this. But yeah, it should still be fine. There isn't any electronics on this anyway, it's just a breakout board, so yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. And yeah, I ordered this from PCB Way. Under normal circumstances, the PCBs I order from PCB Way, and JLC PCB for that matter, arrive in about a month, but it is now Chinese New Year, so yeah, I'm not sure if it will be here in a month or not. We'll see. I went with e-packet instead of standard China Post, so in my experience that doesn't matter at all, but who knows, maybe it will. And yeah, this will be in an upcoming Voron 0 episode. So that's going to be it for this episode. In this episode we did a decent amount. We designed the new rear panel, printed it, also printed a new top hat and a new top hat spool holder, and also designed the deck panel and the mid panel. I just couldn't print them because of the filament issues. So in the next episode we will actually print them, assuming the Esun filament that arrives is similar color. And after that, the Voron 0 PCB that I announced like a month ago or something should be here as well. So we will do the toolhead board and do the umbilical wiring from the toolhead to the back of the electronics chamber, do the most of the electronics wiring, and if the thing I mentioned works out, I'll show that as well, the thing that I did the cutout for on the mid panel. And the episode after that, the PCB that I just showed in this video should arrive, hopefully. Well, I mean, I'm going to delay that video until it arrives because that would otherwise block progress. So yeah, in that episode we will wire that PCB, and yeah, from that we will get Voron 0 working again, test the new top hat spool holder, and yeah, we'll probably do something else in that episode as well. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode, as I said. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like down below. If you aren't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video on the series. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.